Hello, welcome Toolkit Masters. Fantastic to have you here. How exciting, Q&A Thursday. Geez, it rolls around quick, doesn't it? But it's great to be here. And as you know, it's my favourite day of the week, Q&A Thursday. So I love to be here and talking to you guys. All right, so, we've got some really interesting things to talk about today. And I think it's really, really relevant to this day and age because we've got so many people that are working remotely, whether that's they're working from home or whether you have teams that are all over the globe or all over Australia. I think, when we went back to, 10 years ago when open plan offices was all the rage, knock down the walls and everybody live in this same space. Noise became an issue and people trying to, concentrate while they work became an issue. So suddenly people started to work from home a couple of days a week or maybe you have teams that are remote. Whatever happens with that, what we found is there is a disconnect sometimes. People feel a little isolated. People feel a little alone. So then how can you as a leader ensure that your team is a cohesive team that keep engaged, that keep motivated, and that you'll be able to tap into all the time? So it's a tricky one. And it's a great question that came through the ask at teamleadertoolkit.com. So we're going to tackle that today. So hopefully you'll get something out of this. This is the 6 tips and hints for if you have a remote team, how to make them feel more engaged and more motivated. Okay, so before we start though, I just want to know if everyone can see and hear me. So if you can just write, I'm just going to make sure I've got people on here. Yeah, I've got a couple of people on. So if you can just write down in the bottom left whether you can see and hear me okay, that would be really, really good. And then we'll be able to move on from there. So just let me know. Yay, Flick, how you going? Great to see you. Hey, Sam, how you going? All right, so we can be seen and heard. So that's fantastic. All right, so as I said, today we're going to talk about people having remote teams. And when we're talking about remote teams, we're not only talking about people that might work from home. It certainly includes that. You might have a team where half of your team is in your location and the other half might be scattered around Australia. You might have some team members that are overseas, maybe in the Middle East or maybe in Asia or wherever. Okay, so this is going to be really relevant to you because I think sometimes it's a bit of a struggle, isn't it, to make sure that the team feels that cohesive energy amongst themselves. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Fantastic, you can hear me, Flick. Good, I'm glad. We had a little tweak, so hopefully I was hoping it would be really much better than it was last week. So just for those that didn't know, last week was a bit of a disaster. I had to work out of a different room because they were doing some work on the roof and they were quite loud. So I moved downstairs into a different room. But the internet downstairs is a lot more hit and miss than it is upstairs. So as I was doing the webinar, people couldn't hear me, all sorts of things. We've got a bit of a delay between picture and sound. Okay. Well, hopefully that comes better. The other option I've got is to put in a dongle, but we'll see how it goes. It might catch up. All right. Let me know how it goes, Flick, as we're going through. That'd be great. Okay, so we have got some really good stuff to share with you today. I'm going to share my slide presentation with you. So bear with me 3 seconds. It's going to be a smooth transition. You watch. There you go. And here I am down here. So hopefully the sound delay and the picture will be all right now because the picture will be the slides, Flick. So hopefully that will work all right. Okay, so live coaching. I'm really, really excited to have you here. So thank you for joining me. Okay, so what have we got? Yes, it was smooth, Flick. It was, wasn't it? Just a perfect transition. All right. Okay, so the question that came through the ask at teamleadertoolkit.com was, I have remote team members. How do I keep them engaged? What a great question. As I said, as you know, as we have evolved in business, we have come to the realization that it's okay that people can work from home, or it's okay that people don't have to be under our nose 24/7 for us to work. That obviously does differ with some teams. Some teams, if they're working on certain pieces of equipment or things like that, obviously they have to be right there. But if they have the ability to work from home, then people are certainly taking advantage of that. So we're going to talk about today, if you've got remote team members, whether that's working from home or in another state or in another country, then how do you keep your team engaged? How do you keep that cohesive teamwork going? So, you know, if we don't have that cohesiveness, you can lose morale, and you don't want that to happen. So that's going to have a direct impact on your bottom line. So you really want to try and avoid that if you can. So here's some tips that I've got for you that might be able to help. So let's have a look at the first tip. Okay, so get more organised. So wherever your workers are, they need to be able to upload files as they need them, okay? So they need to check that the project progress is going along. They need to keep up to date with what's happening, all those sorts of things. So it's really, really important that everybody can get access to what they need at the right time. So this is not only going to help your remote team members feel sort of included, but it ensures all your projects stay on track, and it helps everybody have a better understanding about who's working on what and where they are and all those sorts of things. And it avoids delays that, you know, if you're trying to disseminate files via email and all that sort of stuff. So you need to get more organised. Now, the platform I'm showing you now is called Trello, which they do have a free version for if you're interested. But and I'm not an affiliate to any of these that I'm showing you. It's just ones that I have used in the past. You've also got Productive, which is another one, and they all have sort of like fairly cheap versions or free versions that you can use. And you might have SharePoint sites on at your work as well that you can get access to, where you can share files and you can determine where things are. But it's just a really great place to have everything all in one place, and that you'll be able to utilize better. So so all of these can be used, or most of these, especially Trello, can be used on Google Drive or Evernote or any of those sort of platforms as well. So it's worth having a look at what can you do to get more organised to ensure everybody has access to the files that they need. Everybody is aware of the progress that's taking place, and everybody knows what everybody else is doing. It makes it really, really a smooth transition to help people share and do things that they want to do together. So this might be something that you want to get organised a little bit better if you haven't got it yet. So that's the first one. The second one is keeping the flow of conversation going. So you really need to make sure the communication is an ongoing thing, because currently it's a challenge for today's business, especially, you know, we leave behind now voice chat, and, you know, we have emails now and text. So there's not many people that are actually talking to each other. People are less likely to pick up the phone. I just came back from a workplace who's actually abolished phones. They don't have phones on the desk anymore. They work through headsets and their computer. So, you know, there's things that you have to think about, that we need to keep that conversation flowing. So to do that, we've decided, well, there's many things that you can do. There's a platform called Slack, which I think this is a picture of, and it is currently one of the favourite sort of workplace chats, because it's really easy for team members to stay in touch all during the day. So that's an option that you can do. There's also Yammer that you can use, and there's free versions of Yammer. You've got Facebook groups, if that works for you, something that keeps that dialogue open and makes it really there and now and just in time. Emails are so easy to miss. You know, if you're away or whatever, at least if you pick up your phone, all of these can be on your phone. You can have that immediate chat, immediate feedback, and you get those conversations going. So what happens with this is if remote people can use this with the people that you've got in your office, it just makes them feel part of the everyday. You know, it makes them feel like they've got that connectivity with the day-to-day stuff. So have a think about that. As I say, there's Slack, there's Yammer, there's Facebook groups. There's a multitude of things that you can help by keeping the flow of conversation going. And yes, there's WhatsApp too. Flick. That's a good one. So that's probably something that you might want to have a look at as well. And most of these have got free options too. So, and as I say, I'm not affiliated with any of them. I've used a couple of them. I haven't used Slack, but I've heard good things about it. I have used Yammer. I have used Facebook groups. Flick, you must have used WhatsApp if you've recommended that one too. So that sounds like one that's worth having a look at. So there's a few out there. So make sure you have a look to see what one would suit you guys. So what else have we got? Okay. So the other thing that we've got to think about is include everybody in your meetings. So it's so easy just to pick up the phone and have a dial-in teleconference. And how engaged are your people? I've been on teleconferences that go for 40 minutes and I've been doodling or I've been sending off emails. I've put myself on mute. I've been totally disengaged. I haven't been present in the meeting. It hasn't engaged me enough. So have a think about what can you do differently, because if you've got people, if you can see people, if you've got people in front of you, you're less likely to be disengaged. You're more likely to be present in the moment. So I've just recently trialed Zoom. Now, Zoom have a free option as well. They do have a paid version and they've got a free version. And it's a little clunky to get used to, but I tell you what, it's much better than just dialing in on a teleconference and just being on the phone. When you can see people, they can hold stuff up, you can wave to them, you can see their body language and all sorts of things. It really does help with the engagement with everybody. So there's another one called Join Me. You've got Go Wall, which uses a digital wall on your note wall. You've got Google Hangouts, which is another one. So there's loads of versions that you can use, whatever suits you and your business. As I said, I've just used Zoom. It worked pretty well. You just got to learn how to use it, and it's a bit clunky to start with. And with Zoom, you can actually dial in as well. So if you happen to be in your car, or you're in a place where you can't get in front of your computer, you can still dial in. So as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, there's somebody who's dialing in. They must be, on the side of the road in their car or something. Hopefully they're not driving. But yeah, so just include everybody in your meeting. So if you have a once a week get together or whatever that may be, whether it be for 15 minutes or 45 minutes, try and utilize something that's going to get everybody engaged and make everybody feel part of that. So there's some options for you there. So as I said, Zoom, there's join.me. If you Google that one, there's Google Hangouts. There's multitude ones that you can use. So have a look, see what's out there and see which one suits you. And which one might be already used in your workplace. You might find they already use something that works really, really well. And I'm surprised there's not more people using this. I've been to global businesses and gone inside their business places and they're still using conference calls and things like that. So, let's go away from that, because that's only one way to communicate. At least this way, you not only get voice, but you also get, body language and eye contact and all that sort of stuff, which really makes a huge amount of difference when it comes to engagement. Okay, so what else have we got? Incentives. So they can really make a difference, and they're different for some people than others. Very few employees are going to say, no, don't give me money. But I'm not saying that that's actually the best incentive. Multiple studies have shown that employees value recognition over monetary incentives. So they would rather get a pat on the back and get recognised for the great job and the value that they're adding versus financial compensation. Now, that might not be for everybody. They've just done a study over, thousands and thousands of people, and that's what they've come to. So when you're talking about incentivizing somebody, you have to really determine what your team motivators are. And recognition is a big one. So this could come in the form of, pulling someone aside to show how you appreciate what they're doing, or something more formal like a gift card or or recognising somebody in one of those face-to-face meetings or Zoom meetings that you're going to do, really pulling out the recognition and recognising the value that they've created or what they've done in a particular project that goes above and beyond. That sort of recognition really makes a difference, makes people feel part of a team, makes people have that sense of belonging. So if you can regularly make an effort to recognise your team members for their achievements, and you make sure you include your employees that are there plus and your remote employees too, depending on which ones they are. So, you know, you might have a full team that's remote, or you might have half and half. So just making sure that it's not, you know, sided one way or the other. And you'll find that will bring the cohesiveness back into the team. So try and remember to do that if you can. Okay, what's number 5? Feedback is king. Excuse me. So you've heard me bang on about feedback and the importance of providing regular performance feedback to your people. This is even more important with remote workers, right? So if you've got a remote team, this is even more important that you ensure that you give them that regular feedback. So if they're not in the office every day and you can't see them face to face, maybe they're in a different state, maybe they're in a different country, maybe they just can't make it in, then try and do some sort of as best as you can face to face. So whether that's a Skype call or a Zoom call or a Google Hangout call or whatever that may be, making sure you can see each other face to face is really, really important. So to make sure that this is set up really well, any sort of person that is remotely working from you, they have to make sure that they have a job description that clearly explains and outlines the work that you want them to complete, and the expectations. And then at least probably if you can manage it once every 6 to 8 weeks, then get this Zoom call going, have a one-on-one conversation with your remote workers and have a chat about that expectation, those projects they're working on, what's going on, what's their barriers, what support do they need, you know, what do they need to do a little bit differently, all those sorts of things. Really, really, really important, especially with your remote workers. So as I say, if you can't meet in person or face to face, then video conferencing is your next best bet. The very last is actually over the phone. That is probably the least effective. So try and make it the other two if you can. All right, and last but not least, and I think this is really important, I've worked with teams myself, and Flick, you'll agree with me that when we get together face to face, it is so much more engaging. You're able to actually bond with the team face to face. You're actually able to spend more time getting to know those people, getting to know their families, getting to know what their strengths are, what their areas of opportunities are, getting to know them on a personal level makes such a big difference. So no matter how spread out your team is, you need to try and get everyone together in person at least once a year. I would say if you can do it 3 times a year, 3 times a year is the magic number. It's fantastic. But if you can only do it once a year, just try and get them together if you possibly can. If it's too expensive, consider regional meetings where you gather in small groups, worst case. You know, get half of the team together over there and then the other half of the team together over there. Do something that you possibly can to get those remote leaders face-to-face, or those remote team members, I should say, face-to-face with each other. Yeah, Flick. So Flick and I were in the same team a few years ago, and we very much so really enjoyed coming together face to face because we were all remote, all working from different states. So when we came together face to face, wow, what a difference that made. And yes, it has a cost, like a financial cost around it, but what you don't see is the intangible benefits, the lift in morale, the boost in teamwork, the lift in productivity, because suddenly you're hearing about everybody's projects and what you can leverage from, you know, the support that you can give each other, not only work support, but personal support, moral support, all those sorts of things that you can't really measure very well. They are absolutely priceless with regards to gathering face to face. Yep, decision making too. So sometimes if you're stuck on stuff, thanks Flick, sometimes if you're stuck on stuff, then brainstorming with your team helps you, you know, come to some sort of enlightenment and insight that will help you better make a decision that you might be struggling to find. So if you are working with remote teams, let's have a quick review of those 6 things that I think will really make a difference for you. So get more organised. So try and find something that will hold your files together. So remember, we had a look at Trello, which is one. I'm just looking here what other ones that I saw as I was going through. Productive is another one. SharePoint sites is another one. So whatever works for you, just to get a bit more organised, so everybody has almost like a one-pager that they can go to find out who's working on what, how it's going, what sort of progress they've made, all those sorts of things. So it's really, really easy for people to connect with. Number 2, keep the conversation flowing. So that's a number of apps that you can use to ensure that happens. Most of them have a free version, so make sure that you dive in and have a look. Slack is the one that we saw. I haven't used that one, but I've heard some good things about it. You've got Yammer, you've got Facebook groups, all sorts of things that you can try to get that together. Number 3, include everyone in meetings. So as I said, I used Zoom just recently and it's actually not too bad. It's certainly miles above just telephone conferencing. So if you've got the opportunity, have a look at that. Google Hangouts is another one. So there's quite a few there that you can have a look at. Incentivize. So we're not always talking about financial compensation here. We're talking about recognizing people's efforts, recognizing the value that they're adding to the workplace. So make sure that you get the opportunity to do that to all your remote workers, all your ones inside. Just make sure you include them all. If you possibly can, but make sure that it's beneficial. It has. Somebody has gone above and beyond. Somebody has done something, you know, way above and brought a project in early, or, you know, under budget, or, you know, just worked extra hard and got a different result, or whatever it may be. Just make sure we recognise those people. Feedback is king. You've heard me bang on about it a number of times. If you're going to give feedback, just remember, well, you are going to give feedback, obviously, but just remember your remote workers, it's especially important to ensure that they've got lots and lots and lots of feedback. So 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8, you can stretch it out to that you get a one-on-one. And if you can't see them face to face, do it via video conferencing so that at least you can see each other's face. And then, talking about face-to-face, that leads us up to the last one. Get together face-to-face as much as you possibly can, because that makes a big difference. Being able to connect with your people, have that sense of belonging, to induce that cohesiveness and teamwork. Getting that face-to-face time is extremely important. So when it comes to budgeting for your team, make sure you include at least 1, preferably 2, let's go for 3 trips where you get together and you actually come together as a group and a team, and try and put something fun in there. You know, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can go and do something fun together, you know, to help with that bonding process. So, you know, give it a go. All right. So remember, remote workers is only going to get more popular. Having people in your team that aren't with you every day is going to become the norm. As people work from home, as we have, you know, flexible working conditions, as, you know, people are going more global to find, you know, workers or team members. So it's going to mean that you need to make a few tweaks and changes to ensure that all of your team feels like they're part. So with the right tools and the procedures in place, you can absolutely make that happen. And these 6 tips and hints will help you a long way towards making sure that that happens. All right then, so any thoughts about that? Any thoughts, queries? I'm just going to bring you back as we are working on this. There we are. Stopped the slide presentation. Look at that. It was a transition like nothing else. Easy peasy. Okay, so have you got any questions? Is there any thoughts? So it's been really interesting. It's a great question to have, and I think it's something that we all have to be aware of as we're working through things. So, all right, no questions, Flick, no questions, Sam. Excellent, no worries. All right, so as I say, really, really relevant for today. If you have a team that's working on a particular piece of equipment or a particular area and they won't be remote, well then, you probably don't have to do this so much, but if you do have teams that are remote, then these 6 things will absolutely help you in where you need to go. All right, so without further ado, remember, if you have a question, ask at teamleadertoolkit.com. Bring it in. We have a look at it. We answer within 24 to 48 hours, and then we put it on the webinars for everybody to share. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you back bright and early for Q&A Thursday next week. Until then, bye for now. See you.